Good morning, everyone in California, but good evening in Europe. Uh, uh, Good, very early morning in Hawaii. Hello. That is so good to see you. And I'm so happy to see people who I work with too.
Hi.
Hey, Angela is working with me on the 6th floor on our oncology unit. Thank you. Ah, wonderful. And we just saw each other yesterday or the day before, on the unit.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, yeah. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you are in. We are really happy that you are joining us. And this project has, we haven't formally started yet. So I will start in a moment. But right now I wanted to just explain a little bit about the genesis of this project because I was overwhelmed with people texting me, emailing me with the request for help. And then I say, you know what? I know these 10 skills that people can apply to deal with difficult situations that I teach to cancer patients and their families. And I thought, wow, it is helpful to everyone. So let me just do a webinar on that. And people crushed it. I mean, I couldn't, my Zoom allowed only 100 people, and there was more than that. So, and the following day I had the same thing back in Poland, but then we had over 300 people registered, and I didn't anticipate. I was expecting maybe 20 or 30, of former patients, coworkers, So, and thanks to Dr. Andrew Janczyk, who is also a physician. He and his company Prosoma that we've been working with Michael DeBernardi, I'll introduce him in a moment, for quite some time on a different project. They said, hey, you need a bit better platform, and that is what they are providing now. So the current platform hopefully is not going to crash. And then there were security issues with Zoom that came up last week with Zoom bombing, and we fortunately Zoom updated these things as of last night. So we hope we will not be Zoom bombed, but we are not attached to the outcome. For those of you who've been with us since the beginning, we will also share the links to other recordings eventually.
So sorry for anyone who had problem joining and require password. I'm just emailing people back with the password. So Zoom came out with this new security update because people were crashing into the meetings and webinars, and Zoom changed the feature. It was supposed to work seamless, but it looks like some people still require passwords. So let's wait 3 more minutes because people are still asking for the password. So sorry for this. This is a new thing for Zoom, and this is all for our security. I believe that most of the people join without problems, but some of them look like require password. Sorry.
So I will. Let me explain the genesis. So we recorded all those videos, but not. I mean, I was doing that, so it is not as good as with Andrew. So hopefully your recordings now are going to be much better. And then what happened was we we got really a lot of responses. Hey, those who were able to log in said, "Oh, that was great." But we also got a lot of people who were frustrated with not being able to join. So we decided to do it better. And so last week we had a webinar on hope, because people don't understand hope, even those who work in healthcare. You'll hear Michael DeBernardi talking about it, and he's a psychologist. Andrew and I are physicians. Many nurses were never taught what hope is. Excuse me. And so we talked about hope. We talked about false hopelessness. We talked about the conspiracy of positive thinking, and we got good response too. and we are today are going to be really talking about the basis of our emotional disturbance, and so we are going to the roots of suffering today. So
we have more people joining. So whoever wants to join with us with their video, we would be happy to have you if you have a camera. So if you can use raise your hand feature in Zoom, I will turn on your video. Okay.
John, so we have you, we see you, so we are happy to have you on. So who we can see is Joe, Lisa, Angela, Kim, Hannah, and Simona, and now Bridget. Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us. And I'm Alana. Thank you very much. Maciej, great to see you.
More and more people joining with video.
I apologize for all of you who had difficulty. Carol, great to see you. Linda, wow, thank you very much for. Oh, Linda, that is such a joy to see you. I mean, I'm happy to see you all, but you know, I'm habitually even more happy to see people that I have known for a long time. So happy to see you guys. See, wow, Sima, that's good to see you too. Wow, Marta, God, great. Thank you for joining us. And again, apologies for difficulty logging in. Last night, Zoom came up with a new security system that required password from some of you. I apologize for that. It was unexpected, but ultimately we hope that this is going to make things better for all of us. So, Andrew, I will ask you to give us a sign when we can start officially.
Oh.
Okay. We have some problems because of Zoom upgrade that we didn't anticipate. And even, I mean, I've been using Zoom since 2012, and I was not informed that people will be required passwords.
So actually, Zoom informed us that we will not require passwords and that the links will work. So what I see is that people who registered after the change have no problem joining, and people who registered at the beginning have some issues. So sorry for anyone who had issues. People are calling me and messaging me about it. So maybe Marius, you wanna tell about a little bit why psycho-oncology, before we start, why psycho-oncology is relevant in the situation, why we wait a couple of more minutes for people who are still joining.
Okay, so actually we have several things that we joined forces. We have joined forces today with my great friend, Michael DeBernardi. He is partner in crime in many things. We love skiing together, and we love hanging out together. Karen, good to see you. And so it is. So I've been doing psycho-oncology, so working with cancer patients and their families. I've been doing that for over 40 years, 30 years. Sorry, 30 years. And hello, Sue. And Michael actually is an expert on dealing with trauma. He works with victims of human trafficking and runs an agency that helps them in New Mexico. And we so we have an experience of working with people who have a lot of suffering, facing real challenges in their lives. So I think that we are particularly able to help people with dealing with this reality that we have right now of this reality that COVID-19 brings to us. For some people, you are particularly in New York. I was just in a conference about the things happening in New York, and I have my colleagues in New York as psychotherapists in New York, how they are dealing with that. How to use telemedicine. I've been using telemedicine for quite some time. Actually, with Michael DeBernardi, we were using telemedicine and teaching telemedicine in New Mexico in the 1990s. So we were using satellite system. So yeah, we are dinosaurs. I mean, I am a dinosaur. He's a little bit younger. So, so we've been doing it for a long time. And so yes, we have people who are dealing with already being in the process of surge. We have in California really still the time of anticipation of the surge, and many of my colleagues and staff that I worked with, they were talking about pre-traumatic stress disorder, the stress of anticipation of things possibly going worse. So Deborah, Joanna, good to see you guys. So yeah, I think that because we know how to help people who are not having psychiatric diagnoses. So both Michael and I, we work with people who have overwhelming challenges in lives, right? So it is not about that people who receive help from Michael or me have any. Gisela, good to see you, or Gisela. um, so Michael and I, we work with people who don't have possibly, mental illness like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, but often they do too. But mostly we work with people who are facing challenges that overwhelm their coping strategies and the coping skills. So we develop skills that help to overcome those things. So after the first class that we were talking about 10 skills of 10 emotional skills of surviving pandemic, then we talked last week about hope. Now I think it's time to really get to the bottom of where the suffering is coming from. And so today we'll be talking about the roots of suffering and how we can address those things most efficiently. And I'm waiting for Andrew to give me a sign to start.
Sorry everyone for being a couple minutes late. We're just dealing with this Zoom update, security update, but I think that many of the people already joined. We have over 100 people online. So Marius, I think we can start. I'll be happy. I'll be helping people along the way who have problems, okay. But we should be starting.
So can you could show everyone the starting page. So welcome everyone. So if you could show the first slide so that I can introduce everyone. Oh, perfect. So really, we are really pleased to see today that we have so many collaborators from Prosoma that provides this platform for us. We are also pleased that the University of Cambridge is joining us too, and that is great privilege to be part of that. Beat the Odds is the program that I do for cancer patients in Long Beach, and my wife's wellness psychiatry and psychosocial oncology that are private practice. and so my wife is sponsoring that. And they can see sport medicine. I do sports psychiatry too. And the LifeLink, it is the agency that my co-host Michael DeBernardi is also working for. So you can, if you could turn this, oh, you can go to the next slide maybe. I will mention a few words about Michael DeBernardi. So I met Michael in 1997 when we both worked in the only state psychiatric hospital in New Mexico, at the New Mexico Behavioral Health Institute at Las Vegas. And we quickly became really good friends. And so it happened that I was trained by Maxim Mosby in rational behavior therapy, and he did his master's thesis on rational behavioral therapy. What a chance in little town in New Mexico of 14,000 inhabitants. But our hospital was one of the oldest psychiatric hospitals in the United States. It was established in 1886. So there were generations of people who worked for this hospital. And so we quickly developed programs that, based on rational behavioral therapy, our mentor, Maxim Mosby, we deployed it throughout New Mexico. And that is why we were using telemedicine already then. I know that several of you joined from Poland. You can imagine that New Mexico is slightly bigger than Poland, but it has only 1,700,000 inhabitants. Of that, 700,000 lives in Albuquerque, and maybe close to 80,000 in Santa Fe. So, so this is very huge state, but very rural, and using telemedicine was the only way to do it. So, and Michael is very experienced. He, as I mentioned earlier, he works with Indian agency, LifeLink, that serves really the most traumatized of the most traumatized. It serves the homeless, it serves the addicted without judgment. It embraces human suffering of people who are trafficked, who are imprisoned falsely, and who also were enslaved. Yes, it may seem incredible, but it really happened. So welcome, Michael, and I really appreciated you joining us today.
Well, thanks, Marius, for having me. It's always, whenever I get that text coming through from Marius, it's always like, okay, what has he got me into now? And I very much appreciate that. He's, yeah, we've known each other for over 20 years. I've had a lot of adventures all over the country, all over the world. But we've maintained a friendship and we've maintained a collaboration. Yeah, I was amazed to move to New Mexico to find somebody with my same interests, and so it was a natural working relationship from then on. Sadly, well, for me, happily for him, Marius moved to California after a few years. We kept in touch, have kept working, but he's really expanded the work of Maxim Maltzby rational behavior therapy into his cancer practice, working with family members and cancer patients, and working with their beliefs. So changing their quality of life in the face of the most frightening situations that many of us will ever have to go through, to look at their belief work and how can they improve the quality of life that they may have left? How can they potentially use their beliefs to assist in their healing? So it's been really great to see how his work has developed and how our work has continued to come together. As he said, my agency, the LifeLink, has been in Santa Fe for 32 years. Really started out as a program for homeless women with children, and grew from there to the point that we have over 1,000 clients now. And it's we work on mental health, we work on substance abuse, we work on housing programs, the human trafficking aftercare. There's really a great deal. I've got a great team under me doing some incredible work. So even though I am CEO now, I still love the clinical work the most. And the model that we're going to teach you today, work with today, is in many ways the same way that we teach it to our clients. It is learning to take control of your thinking, your belief system, and as a result, take control of your emotional world and your behaviors. So this may be new to some of you, maybe review to some of you. Please ask questions as we're going along. But really happy to come together. It's nice to have community in the face of what we're all dealing with out there. So thanks all for coming. Appreciate it.
So if you could turn off the slides, because we will, I really like looking at people's faces rather than slides. So Deborah Stanley, so wonderful. We have other people who we worked with in New Mexico. So in New Mexico, I was the chief of psychiatry, and Michael was chief of psychology, and of course. Uh, we were making a lot of good things, and there was a little bit of and we think that we were making the world better in this part of the world. So, and Andrew, Dr. Andrew Jończyk, is also a physician, and he works for Prosoma, and he's hosting these webinars for the second week now. So thank you for doing that, because when I was on my own, I was really not that skilled at this whole thing. So
we have also people from Cambridge joined us. So before we had only the US guests, and I see also our partners from Cambridge, Sheila and Tony, that join us. It's good to see you. And up to you, Marius. Let's start.
So yes, I think so. Welcome. For people in Hawaii, it is early morning, and I know that there are some people from Lithuania that is late evening. It is 9 p.m. over there, and it is 11 a.m. in California, noon in Santa Fe, where Michael is, and so we are really happy that we can connect with you. And today we are going to be talking really the basis of human suffering. So I think that was the time to really get to it. But before I will go to the subject, first of all, I wanted to thank all, and I know some of you are nurses, so all the healthcare workers, the nurses who are in front lines. Thank you very much, all of you, physicians, and also innumerable people, respiratory therapists. They are so exposed to the mucosa. Actually, in Italy, the highest death rate among physician specialties was about ENT, because they work so closely to people's faces. Also, so that is the reason that I would like to thank speech therapists, those who work with stroke patients, teaching them to swallow and to speak and so on. So they are really very close to their faces too. And doing that through the mask is really challenging. A physical therapist, it is impossible to keep 2 meters or 6 feet, which is really meter and 80 centimeters, a distance from a patient when you are working with them. First responders, EMT technicians, people who are really laying our hands on our bodies to transfer us when we need help. In general, everybody who is working in transportation, if Michael's agency, there's important community outreach, because many of the people that he works with are homeless, and reaching them, and they don't have Wi-Fi, and they don't have very often reliable bandwidth to connect any other way. So we have a lot of people who prepare foods and deliver foods. I know we have people who donate food to healthcare workers, and I have friends in the UK who work to deliver food to healthcare workers. So those people who prepare, who deliver and prepare, those who work in grocery stores. Come on, and any direct connection with people, postal workers, delivery people, UPS, FedEx, and other people. So we really appreciate you. And the healthcare workers are usually thought of that they are really the front lines. No, I want to thank the public, because the true front line is the public. We healthcare workers are really the last line, right? The ICU workers are the last line. Front line is the public, because the public and the behavior of the public will determine how the process is going to be happening. So yes, and we thank you, and we are so happy to see that here in Southern California we have one of the best compliance rates of the recommendation of physical isolation. Again, and that is, people are using this social distancing. No, we don't want social distancing. We want physical distancing. So no social isolation, social integration. And that is the reason we chose this form, that we can see each other faces. Because in this form, we know that we can integrate socially while keeping physically distance. So yes, we are dispelling certain misunderstandings about what is and the words, and we arrived to that at the end of our presentation, how words are important for us. So thank you all, and thank you all who participate here. That is really encouraging. So what expectations you may have about the program today? So first of all, there's nothing new under the sun, and you will see that what we are talking about, the source of our emotions, where our emotions are coming from, is we span it from over 2,600 years up to modern neuroscience, and we know much more now through modern neuroscience where the emotions are coming from. So, and also at the end of our no, don't show the slides, please. No. I like faces. I'll tell you. So, yeah, so really, if you continue with us, today you will know very basic things that from which everything else springs out. So by the end of today's class, you will know the basis of suffering and how to look at it more effectively. Next week, we are going to really talk. So today is going to be more of understanding and exploration. And next week, we are going to be talking more about transformation. And so you will know everything that you need to know, how to apply those things to yourself, as well as if you're a therapist, how to apply it to others. And what you can expect, that there will be some practical assignments and homework at the end, because really for any change to happen, we need to apply ourselves. So knowledge without application, without practice, without skills training is just information. That is what, but we need skills. We don't need the just information. So that is the reason we will be sending you a lot of homework to practice. And yes, we also create Facebook groups where we can address needs on the regular basis. And also what we hope for is that some of the things we are going to tell you are going to feel wrong to you. And actually, the assignments that we give you, the first assignment is going to be, first look at it, what you don't agree with. Yes. Because of what? If you agreed with everything, that means that you have not learned anything new. Because new things always create in us the sense of, oh, wow, that I didn't think that way. No? So many things that we are going to tell you are going to go against your habits, and we will tell you why it feels wrong, weird, awkward, unnatural. So, and also, we are not expecting any personal issues to come up, but if they do, please keep it confidential. Or we advise you not to use any very personal issues. If you want, you can contact us privately. But we really, it is not the forum to address really intimate, personal, confidential issues, because we are recording it and we want to use this recording for the future people to catch up if they want to join us later. And so you see, well, the work that we are going to do here is based on the work of several people, and I want to mention just several names. First of all, Dr. Carl Simonton, who was a radiation oncologist and who in 1971 developed a program for cancer patients to address not just their physical issues, but also emotional issues on a regular basis, interpersonal issues since 1973. So yeah, it was, then the second person is Maxim Oldsby. Simonton sent me and my wife to do our residency in psychiatry at Maxim Oldsby. Our first was pathology, which was definitely not my thing. Radiation college was my second residency, which I did not complete. And then I became a psychiatrist, which I enjoy. But the psychiatrist for people who are faced with really life-challenging issues. And also I wanted to do a shout out to Dr. David Burns, with whom I'm also in training right now. And with him, his team, CBT, team Cognitive Behavioral Therapy team, stands for testing, empathy, agenda setting, and methods. Also, Michael and I and my wife, we were trained by Marsha Linehan, which so some of the work is informed by her. So there is a lot of, I was trained by Albert Ellis. So there is a lot of people that come, and also Peter Fenner, who actually is using some Buddhist and pre-Buddhist philosophy into understanding human suffering. So whatever we are talking about is actually comprehensive and internally consistent. So whatever we said in the first class is going to be, on the first workshop, is going to be valid in the last workshop. And comprehensive because it addresses human suffering at its basis. So it is transdiagnostic, regardless of whether it is anxiety disorder, depression, and so on. These things that we are talking about will not address the basis or causes for suffering in, let's say, schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, but it may be helpful to these patients too. And it is also comprehensive because it deals not only with regular daily issues, but also profound issues like spirituality, philosophical issues, religious issues, as well as interpersonal problems. Our intervention is short term, but giving long-term results, and is culture-free. So that means that we've applied it from Japan. Unfortunately, during the time difference, they cannot join us, but they will watch the recordings. So shout out to our Japanese colleagues with Nobuko and others, with whom I worked with Carl Simonton Center. And so it is, and I was teaching the same thing in South Africa, back in Poland, Lithuania, shout out to our Lithuanian colleagues. And of course, in the United States, really, New York and Washington, D.C. is very different from New Mexico and California. So we have multiple cultures here. And actually in LA County, there are 272 languages spoken. So you have multiple, I don't need to travel far to have different cultures. And also it is compatible with other cognitive behavior therapies. So whatever we teach can be easily connected with other therapies. And relatively, it is relatively easy to teach and easy to learn. However, the nuance of it requires a lot of training. So to become really good therapist at it, will require a lot of training. And I may also recommend training with Feeling a Good Institute. If you Google them, I strongly recommend their approach. I think they are doing a lot of training online. This is with David Burns's methods. So you see, what was unique about Maxim Maltzby was that he was teaching people how to become their own therapists. And that is what we are doing with you, right? So we want you to become your own therapist, and we want you, and eventually really we want to do single session group therapy, and that is something that we will be doing next week. The largest group that I ran to do such a therapy, also single session, was 150 people, but it was live and in person. So next week we are going to do it for the first time, and maybe Guinness record is going to be made with that. So also shout out to the Netherlands, to Barbara de Buchelaar, with whom we did the first really large one single session group therapy using cognitive framework. So yeah, so the idea is that in one session we can learn a lot and practical skills, but at the same time, we are not attached to the outcome. We know that this format, that particularly next week, we will be trying to accomplish that. And Maltzby was saying, how you are, Maltzby was accused, oh, you are allowing people who are potentially emotionally disturbed to cancel themselves. Do you think it is safe? And he would say, not only it is safe because people talk to themselves all the time, you cannot stop them from talking to themselves all the time. So it is safe. so there's no other choice. Yeah. So since people are talking to themselves all the time, why not let them talk to themselves in a healthy way? Andrew, can you show us the slide with the brain?
Sure, Marius.
So whatever we are talking about is reflecting in how our brain works. And that is what Maltzby was emphasizing, that his approach really focuses on the functioning of human brain. So Maltzby's approach is the most radical of all cognitive behavior therapies, because it is really based on how we think, what is happening in our brains. And we know that cognitive behavior therapy is a biological therapy. It changes the chemistry and the structure of the brain. So thank you for the slide. We know that that very often, and Michael knows that there is a lot of research showing that if there is a lot of research showing that the trauma causes changes in the human brain. But not only that, the good part is that proper therapy is changing our human brain too, in a healthy way. So it is like going to the gym. If you do appropriate exercises, your body is going to be stronger and healthier. But you can go to the gym and hurt yourself if you don't do it correctly. So we will be teaching you how to go to your mental gym and practice in a healthy way things that will help you stronger and healthier emotionally. So, and yes, there are multiple different theories of where the emotions are coming from. There was a theory promoted by Zhajong, published in 1984, saying that there is a primacy of emotions, that the emotions are first before we have any thoughts or feeling or actions. That if something happens, we first feel, and then some other approaches believe that our thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes and feelings are epiphenomena, means that they are happening at the same time. But in all cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the most researched and most validated therapy in the world, its effectiveness is based on the assumption that it is how we think affects how we feel. And Albert Ellis, who is considered as the father of cognitive behavioral therapies, he based his approach on Stoic philosophy. Epictetus, he was the philosopher who said, people are not upset by things, but by the view they take of them. And that is the basis of all cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And now it's been validated in research that actually that is how human brain works, right? That we cannot observe things, we automatically assess them. Yeah. And of course, so that is the basic assumption, and we can show the we don't really need to show you this slide. We can skip this slide. The basic assumption is that facts do not upset people. People upset themselves with their beliefs about the facts. So you can make a screenshot of that, whatever. So, so these are, this is a very important assumption. And it is not a new thing. As I told you, that there is nothing new under the sun. Actually, Buddha, and there were people before him, so this is not like he started all that stuff. He didn't start the fire. Buddha was saying that with our thoughts, we create the world. So we really see the world the way we think about it. We see our relationships the way we think about it. Our first approach to our relationship is blame. We will be talking about it in 3 weeks about this part. Then we'll know more about that. Excuse me. Also in the Bible, in Old Testament, in Proverbs, it is stated, which is also dated for over 2,000 years ago, that as I think in my heart, so am I. So I'm really what I'm thinking, right? And I already mentioned Epictetus, but in the most beautiful way that was said by Shakespeare, one of my favorite writers, in the second act of Hamlet, when Hamlet is discussing the state of Danish state, and many of us may be concerned about the state of our countries, right now. He said that nothing is either good or bad. Our thinking makes it so. And it may be very difficult to think about that way with the pandemic. What may be good about pandemic? What may be benefits of the pandemic? So I'm not going to be focusing on that right now, but we will be talking in a few moments about the benefits of the emotions that we experience while facing difficult challenges like the pandemic. So
Marius, if I might
yes.
jump in here for a moment. So getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but thinking about this, there are a lot of quotes there about how our thinking makes the world what it is for us. So we tend to think, oh, this virus is scaring me. This being stuck in my home, is making me anxious. It's not making you anxious. It's your belief about it. This virus doesn't have the power to scare you. It only has the power to change the way you think about it. And so this is kind of the point of what we're trying to do today, is teach you that even in the face of what's going on and the uncertainty of what's going on, we still have the power. We're not going to think our way out of the problem. We're not going to think the virus away, but we still have the capacity to change the way we cope with it and manage our emotions when we are struggling.
So yes, so thank you very much. And so yeah, we are really many of you already know those things, but we want to simply emphasize it as much as possible. And you know, as a physician, I cannot help myself but to quote the greatest physician of all that we know of, which was Hippocrates. And actually, Hippocrates lived a few decades after Buddha, right? And we don't know how informed their work was, what sources, but it is very possible that they had very similar sources. Hippocrates lived on the island of Kos, a Greek island, and he said something like that: every person should know that from the brain and from the brain only arise our pleasures, joys, as well as our sorrows, pains, grief, suffering, and tears. All these and other emotions come from the brain and only from it. But you see, the way he was defining brain as an interpreter of consciousness. So in modern language, we would call it a mind, right? So a mind is a function of the brain. It is what the brain does, right? So and he started with, so all our emotions are coming from our minds. So, and he started this saying by every person should know. So what we are teaching is, he believed that everybody needs to know that from our mind come all our emotions. So it is not that it is just some secret or information, but really, really, that is the basis of everything that every person needs to know. And that is why we are doing this class today. So, and of course, there are a lot of people, many people see cognitive behavior therapy being preceded by a theory of personality and personal constructs that Kelly formulated, and these are not new things. But I wanted to clarify certain issues. First of all, when I'm talking cognitions, I mean our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, attitudes, the internal dialogue, the self-talk. This is cognitions, right? When I'm talking emotions, I specifically talk about emotional feelings, right? Which is usually one-word adjectives like, or nouns like sad or sadness, or angry or anger, right? Or love or love. So yes, love may be a noun and maybe also a verb. So emotions are not statements that follow. I feel like, that is not a statement. It is usually a belief, or so that is, or I feel that, it is also a belief, not a feeling, right? So the content and structure of what I'm going to do now with Michael is very similar to what we do in therapy, which is teaching people where the emotions are coming from. And our favorite example is on using it's an example that Maximo would be used. So imagine you can dim the light for more effect. You imagine that you are in your bedroom alone in home and falling asleep. You just slipped away into your sleep, and suddenly you are awakened with a noise in the hall. And your first thought is, it's a burglar, right? And so, how do we usually feel in such a situation? You can put in your chat at the bottom of your screen, you have chat. So what people usually feel? Your stomach drops, all right? Fear, scared, panic, right? Anxiety, shock, right?
Get it bad.
Get it bad, yeah. I will anxiety. I will reflect on that. Frightened, yes. Most people would feel that. Yes, some people have a little bit different thoughts. So of all over 30 years of teaching this model, I had only one person say, "Oh, I would be happy." It was when I was doing my workshop in Texas, and they said, "I just got a new gun, and I would be able to try it." But outside of that, I usually had. Apparently, someone got a new bat, and so. But don't eat bats, right? Please. Um, so I don't know. It may go over some people's. It's about eating bats at the time of coronavirus. So we don't have a problem in knowing how we would feel, but now, what do we think about this situation? Why do we feel that way? What do we think about being in a situation with a burglar in the house? What do we think? Yeah, outside of this guy who wanted to try his new gun, so he was happy because he had different thoughts. But those of us who were frightened, that we are in danger, right? We may feel that we are helpless. Yes, because what the guy that we all usually think that burglar is ready to rob us, so he has all the equipment to take our property, right? That he may harm us, right? He may harm our loved ones. He may destroy our property, right? So there are many things that come to our head, right? And then what we do in response. Oh, yes, you can think, oh, how do I escape? Oh, and yes, I can call 911. Actually, 911 works in the United States only, so don't try this number if you're somewhere else. In Europe, I believe it is 112. In some other countries, maybe other numbers. Yeah, there's fear of unknown. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, or if you have children, some people may focus on protecting them. But we assume that you are by yourself in the house. But yeah, but the burglar may stay in your house after killing you. They may be. I don't want to scare you now, but this is the things that may go through our heads. And then what do we do? You're already we're alluding to getting a bat or calling 911 or doing things. So let's show the next slide, please. Let's show the next slide. The AB. We had this slide. ABCs. Can you go? All right. So ABCs. Yes. So looking at this event, there was an activating event. It was a noise in the hall, right? B were my cognitions, my beliefs, thoughts, and attitudes that I had about this situation. C, the consequences of my thoughts, which are my emotional feelings. And D was my doing, what were my physical actions in that situation, which is calling 911 or calling the first responders. Yes, thank you, first responders, once again. So with these first responders, still on their way, before we even dial the whole number, I just wanted to make the point that I can imagine that with such a large audience as we have today, Andrew told me that we have over 150 people. Some of you might have had experience with a burglar, but most of you most likely not. But most of you know how to feel in that situation, right? Because of what? Humans learn their emotions, acquire their emotional habits also vicariously. That meaning from the experience of others. So there are people that we watched movies, there are plenty of movies and books with burglars in them. We have many situations, many conversations or histories on the radio or gossip and so on that tells us, oh wow, These are the things that happened. So we know, we learned how to feel even though we were not personally involved in that experience. So that is very important, how we acquire emotional habits. And then we have feelings, and then what we do physically. And now we may have very similar situation. The activating event is, oh, we all hear about this COVID virus, and we don't know what it is, right? We have thoughts and beliefs about it, and we will have adequate emotional responses to it, and we will be acting differently, and we will come back to that situation in a few moments. Can you turn off the slide, and we will come back to everyone's mode? Wonderful. So so that I want to emphasize that we cannot just observe. Our brain and our mind is the most important organ of our survival, comfort, and self-control. Our brain cannot just observe things happening, but immediately evaluates whatever is happening around us, and if evaluates it as negative for our survival, like in the example with the burglar. Yes, he may harm me, he may destroy my property, he may kill me. If he stays too long, he may harm my loved ones. So, of course, these beliefs will cause negative emotions, right? The emotions like fear, anxiety, worry, being frightened, or panicked, as well as possibly anger, right? These are flight or fight emotions. We call them negative, not that they are bad, and we'll pivot to it in a moment. We are talking about it because they motivate us to either avoid or destroy. Anger, resentment, or guilt, actually, motivate us to destroy. Guilt motivates us to destroy ourselves, actually. But why fear, anxiety, worry motivate us to avoid the stimulus, right? And so now I would ask Andrew to show the poll. We will poll you and ask you to say what good comes. Oh, no, not this poll. Sorry. What is it good about the most negative things? Sorry. You see, I'm becoming creative while I'm doing this, and for people who prepared this presentation, it is total disaster.
Marius, we don't have this one in a pulse.
Oh, okay.
We removed
Oh,
this
good.
before the meeting.
All right. Okay. So let's close this one. So asking you, put in your chat, what are the benefits of fear and anxiety and worry? Okay. For example, I can give you. I always thought that worry is useless, but then I realized that our ancestors couldn't write. So worry is the way of keeping their important to-do list in their minds, right? So preparing yourself for the best scenario, yes, it motivates you, promotes safe behaviors, right? That is very good. I can prepare action and plan this action, right? Also, anxiety keeps me more alert. I'm more vigilant and careful. Right? Yes. So yes, that is what I'm. We are talking about. Oh yes, I'm more awake, more aware. It gives me energy. It's keeping me safe. So you see, there are benefits of negative emotions. Actually, last week we were talking about benefits of hopelessness because we were talking about hope, and we came up with 31 benefits of hopelessness. So I am in the possession of 31 benefits of hopelessness, and nobody else on the planet have that. I mean, I shared it yesterday with my CBT group. So They may know it already with David Burns and the group. But yeah, being cautious motivates us to do something about this current situation. So yes, so there are benefits of anxiety, there are benefits of worry, and so on. So, but at the same time, the balance is how I can benefit from this emotion, but not go into panic mode that I'm paralyzed by my fear, right? So we will be talking about that. So first of all, and also we are talking about benefits of negative thoughts, right? Because people try to think about positive, and we'll come back to this after I finish presenting all types of emotions, ABCs of emotions. So let's come back to this our example. So we wake up in the middle of the night. That is our A, noise in the hall. B, we think, oh, it's a burglar. He's going to kill me. He's going to rob me, destroy my property, and then may harm my loved ones. Then I may think about, oh, wow. And then I'm experiencing appropriate logical. Our emotions are always logical to the thoughts that I'm having right now, right this minute, right? So emotions always follow what are my thoughts, right? So whenever but only the thoughts that I truly believe in, my honest, sincere thoughts. Because if sometimes we may be joking, and then we don't experience fear, right? Or we give scenarios that we don't really know. We are aware that they are not true. So you know that you are not with a burglar in your house. So you experience the fear, and then you are dialing the emergency, the police, or whatever this number in your country, and you are dialing the first digit. You are just about to press the second digit, and then you realize, oh my goodness, I totally forgot. Michael, my best friend, is in town. And yeah, I ran into him. He's in Long Beach, and he didn't call me. Can you imagine? And I ran into him, and he said, "Oh, I apologize. I'm busy. I'm in the meetings up until late." And I said, "Hey, here's the spare key to my house. I always have spare key to my house with me." And I gave him the spare key. And while I was dialing that number, I remember that and say, but he said, "No, it's going to be late." And I said, because I have dinner, this official dinner that I have to attend. I say, no problem. Just here's the key. Wake me up when you get in. And I forgot the night, so I turned off the lights. It was dark in the hall, so he stepped on something and made noise, right? It made noise, and that woke me up. So crazy me, I thought it was a burglar. No, it is Michael. So I am going. So what are my actions? So how I'm feeling now once I remember that? That's not. Am I still scared? If I truly believe it's Michael, not the burglar, am I still scared? No, I feel relief, right? And some of actually, if I truly believe it is Michael, I would be really happy because I always have fun with Michael. So yeah. So how long would it take from this fear to switch to happiness? It would be instant. As I told you just a few moments ago, I told you that our feelings always follow what we think at the given moment. So as soon as I switch my thought, oh, it's a burglar, experiencing intense fear, I can switch immediately to oh no, it's Michael, my best friend. We are going to have fun. We may be happy. And there's no drug, there's no substance that can help you change how you feel as fast as you can by changing your mind. So that is the basis of cognitive behavior therapy, changing your mind. But you see, you need to change your mind from one thought that you truly, 100% believe to another thought, opposite thought that you truly 100% believe, right? Yeah. Someone put 6 seconds. Um, So I don't know if it is 6 seconds. I think it is much less. It is actually, it is the speed of electric impulse going through our brain. In our prefrontal cortex, actually, we know that a little bit, how it switches off the fear in central nucleus of the amygdala, and which is fear. It turns it off by changing our mind, and different structures of our brain are creating joy. So that is called reattribution. So you can search if you are scientifically inclined, or just read our articles that were published in peer-reviewed journals. So so there's no stronger drug than your own mind, underdrugged mind, right? Helping you switch from one thought to another. So look at this, at the ABCDs of this situation. So A was the same activating event, a noise in the hall, but B are totally different thoughts. This is Michael, we are going to have fun, you know. And C, I feel joyous. And in D, how I'm acting, am I still dialing the emergency number? No, I'm going out to greet him, right? So I'm running out of my bedroom with open arms, and what? Boom! I'm hit with a baseball bat. Yeah, someone mentioned that before. I most likely you were in my workshops or something, or are clairvoyant. So so what does it say about human brain? That I'm running out of the bedroom, 100% convinced that it is Michael. Do you think Michael would greet me with a baseball bat? No. Unlike circumstance. I gave Michael the key. So, of course, but also by a coincidence, very low probability, but still possible, that a burglar the same night chose to show up at my home to rob my home, right? Fortunately, I'm living in such a neighborhood that we hope we are relatively safe, but you never know. So, exactly. So brain is a blind organ. So we will forego this slide, but we have really cute slide about it. But brain is a blind organ, and that is the basis of it. So brain doesn't care about facts. Brain converts any fact that we have, and here I'm going to show you this in our book. Oops. Here is the book. Oh, by the way, that is the book ABC of Emotions that we have. That we did. So brain converts our sincere thoughts. You can turn it off, please. Brain converts our sincere thoughts into our internal reality of that moment. So we are living in virtual realities. So, and we can be flipping through those realities multiple times. There are parallel universes, actually, that we believe one thing, we feel different thing. We believe another thing, we feel totally different thing. And if I believe it's Michael, I have full trust in him. And he often says, trust me. Well, I convinced me. So I jump into, and then I'm greeted with a baseball bat by a burglar. So you see, by believing in something, it doesn't change reality, because, and even unlike a situation like that. So, so we were talking about that we have 3 emotional choices, right? So let's imagine that, so we had the ABCDs of negative emotion when we imagined it was burglar, the ABCDs of positive emotions when we thought it is Michael, our best friend, and see, I know many ladies would be happy to hear that Michael showed up, and so positive emotions, and C, and the third possibility. So we have neutral emotions. So that's also unique to rational behavior therapy, is that we have a range of emotions, from intensely negative to intensely positive, but we also have neutral emotions. And these are very healthy emotions. These are peace of mind, calm, equanimity, bliss, relaxation. These are very healthy emotions, right? So in our example, let's think that, I hear noise in the bedroom. I hear noise in the hall. And my first thought is, oh, wow, it is our cat, Orangina. She does it every night. She knocks down the umbrella stand, and every night. And so I have calm emotions, right? Because she does it every night, so I'm not angry. Plus, I love her, right? She's this orange cat, so it's hard not to love her. And so I have neutral emotions. I just think, oh, I'll pick it up in the morning, like I do every morning, right? After I give her food first, then I collect the umbrellas. And so when I think about it in the middle of the night after I was awoken, what I do? Do I jump out? No, I just turn to the other side and fall asleep again. So that is ABCDs of neutral emotions. The same, look, in all those examples, it was the same noise, but I was experiencing very different emotional feelings, right? So human emotions are always logical to the sincere thoughts that they have at that given moment, right? If I don't believe it's my cat, I won't feel calm, right? So if I believe it is, if I believe that is a burglar, sincerely, I will experience fear. And also very important, what I believe at the moment, what I believe in the moment, it feels right to me. So even in Proverbs, we have every way of the man is right in his own eyes. The problem is that we are in the middle of the situation. What we think at the moment, our own thoughts are very convincing to us, and it is very easy for us to believe them. Right? So Michael, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, again, what I hinted at earlier about this virus and the beliefs that we have about what's happening in our world. And if we're feeling fearful, it's not because the virus is causing us to be afraid. It's because we're telling ourselves things about it. I don't know about you guys, but I come home every night, turn on the news at 6 o'clock and watch it until 11 o'clock. And don't do very well at getting to sleep because I'm filling my head with these images of what's going on around this country. And yes, they're accurate, but it is just reinforcing to me, oh my God, it's the end of the world. What's happening here? How's civilization going to recover from this? It's because I'm telling myself that we don't know what's going to happen. And I don't think this is later in the presentation, so I'll just say it quickly. When we talk about anxiety, we talk about anxiety being on a spectrum. We have probability and we have possibility. And the more we focus on things that are possible, the more anxiety, the more fear we have. So if you sit there telling yourself, oh my gosh, my grandfather's very sick, my friend has really bad lung conditions, what if they all die? What if the stores close down? What if there's no toilet paper left? What am I gonna do? Yes, all those things are possible. They are all possible. But when we think about what's probable, is it probable that all of your family members are going to die? Is it probable that we're going to run out of toilet paper for the next 20 years? No, it's not probable. We know the percentages on lethality on this virus, so it's really not probable. We may lose people close to us, but the odds are very much in our favor that that's not going to happen. So when you find yourself feeling really anxious, taking stock of what is what am I thinking here that's just a possibility of happening versus what am I thinking that is really probable. I heard someone today said, this whole thing is just a way to distract the public because a big meteor is coming and they're trying to scare the earth. Is it possible that a big meteor is coming? Absolutely. But is it probable that the whole world is in on this big conspiracy to trick us about that? No, it's not. So that's one simple thing you can use when you are in those moments of freaking out, to think about, okay, let me break down where I am on that spectrum of probable versus possible.
Thank you very much, Michael. That is crucial to remember. And so the basis of these ABCDs is that with our sincere thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes, we create, maintain, and eliminate our emotional states. So even though it is not just philosophical fact, but also neurophysiologic fact that it is how our brain works. But if someone comes to me and they say, hey, I'm scared, I'm frightened, I'm anxious, and I say, hey, that is your mind, it is your own beliefs, just change the way you think, you'll feel better. It is very invalidating, right? And there were some things that I present here is Linda Johnson. She told me, she taught me several things. She participated in our Beat the Odds program, and really sometimes a positive spin that we give something may be off-putting for a lot of people. So really what we want to look at is to see things in as real as they are, and meeting each other where the person is. So like, for example, experiencing anxiety, you don't say, oh, how many of you ever experienced worry? I did. Yeah. Or anxiety and something. So yeah, we all did. But how many of you were helped if someone told you, just calm down, just, look at the bright side, there's silver lining in everything? Nobody. So on top of your anxiety, you also got pissed, right? So you feel worse afterwards. So thank you, Linda. And that is the reason that we start exploring the benefits of those difficult emotions. We call them negative, but they are not bad, right? Sometimes positive emotions may be bad. So in the times of COVID, there are some people saying, oh, why we are not talking more about the statistics were showing that there were over, I have it on my phone, over 220,000 people recovered from COVID globally, right? Why we are not talking about those people? Oh, because what is the implication? Because it is an idea, which is a fact, right? But what I think about the fact, and for a lot of people, the thought is, oh, it is not a big deal. And that is the problem. We need to take these things seriously. If we are going to be spinning these things only in a positive light, oh, I'm at such an age that it doesn't affect me, then I don't have to be concerned about it. Then I'm not only exposing myself, but I'm also becoming a carrier, and I may have no symptoms. So positive thinking is not always healthy thinking, right? That is very important. So here, when we have, when we are talking about our own emotions, when I'm scared, it is important that I first validate how I feel, and I stay with my feelings, right? Not immediately say, oh, I need to change it, because the more we push these feelings away, the more they are coming back, right? How many of you were dealing with an angry person? Yes, validate. I'm glad that we have this slide, because there's nothing more important. Most often when people share their concerns with us, I'm talking humans, human connection, they don't ask, then don't, of course, they come to Michael and me to have things fixed, but Normally, human connection starts with validation. They want to be heard. They don't want us to fix anything. So when people are coming to you, and also it is not that we want to fix you, we want to give you tools. But first thing I want you to, and we want you to validate your own feelings. They are valid. There are a lot of good things that come from those difficult emotions that you're experiencing, right? So thank you. So while validating, it is important that we don't use a semantic that is not following the ABCDs of emotions, right? So we don't ask people, oh, how did it make you feel? All right? No, because things don't make us feel, right? We create our emotions. Or we don't ask people, oh, you must have felt really bad. No, you didn't have to feel that way, because we always have three emotional choices, right? Neutral, negative, or positive, right? But the healthier way is to say, okay, let's that first validate the feelings. Yeah, it is understandable that you feel that way, and your experiences, and validating the reality of that experience, but not validating that they have no choice by saying you must feel really afraid. It is like, oh, I have no choice. No, we always have a choice, but don't try to cheer people up before they are actually ready to look at their own beliefs. And that is also when you apply to yourself, right? First, honoring. And next week, we are going to be talking about more of the exploration part, the learning from your emotions. Because our emotions, as I told you, we learn our emotional habits. Yes, our emotions, our reactions are habits that we acquire through life, also vicariously. So what are the advantages of the ABCDs of emotions? It is first, they are simple, right? But not simplistic. So they reflect how human brain works, right? They're effective and practical. They are empowering, because actually the power to your emotions is with the individual, right? They conserve energy, because if it were events affecting us, we would have to fix every event around us. Or every person around us, right? Control what they say, how they behave. We wouldn't be able to, right? What we can do is control how we think. And so first, learning, observing our thoughts. So that is the being aware of what I am thinking, right? And so I am responsible for my own emotions. And it is much easier to change yourself than to change others. You see, Albert Ellis said there is such a paradox that on one hand, people claim that they cannot change themselves, but continuously insist on changing others. No, we cannot change others. We can change ourselves. So let's start with that. So here we will come with a poll, and we would ask you to answer this poll about where our emotions are coming from.
Can you see the poll?
I see Andrew and I see Michael, but Paul disappeared. In the meantime, I wanted to read one comment from Lisa. It's so important to validate our patients' feelings. Grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yep. Deborah is asking, where's the poll? And I don't know, where's the poll?
Do you see it, Marius?
I don't see it, and I don't know of anybody else who sees it.
I see people posting answers, so I guess.
Oh, great. So maybe I'm in the bad view. Well, all right. No problem. So those of you who see the poll, please answer the questions. Oh, click poll at the bottom. Yes. Oh, yes. Just click at the poll at the bottom. Okay.
So anyone who doesn't see the poll, please click the poll button at the bottom.
And the question is, where do emotions come from? The first question, the first response is events and other people. The second question answer is my own thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes. The third question, the one emotion leads to another. Fourth answer is from my actions. And then there is a fifth option, other. So please, if there's an other source of your emotions, please chat in, please put it in the chat.
We already have some answers in the chat, so I guess people.
How many? Okay. Do you have the results of the?
Yes. So basically, other than the answers in the chat, all of our poster answered. All of our people who answered with the answer number 2, which is my own thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes.
Okay, can you share that post for people to see?
Okay. So we had some issues with the poll on the previous webinar.
Okay, so forget it. We will not
But
do it.
you should be able to see it now.
All right.
So we have 97% of people answering my own thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes. Some people, one person answered from my actions, and a couple of people answered other, and we have answers in the chat. So
yeah, and the answer in the chat is I see no poll button. Yeah. Because it disappeared now. Because once we completed the poll, the poll button disappeared. And some people said memories. Okay, that is good. Memories is yes, a memory is actually an activating event. And what I think about that memory, it may be a painful memory, and particularly in people who are traumatized, the memories may be coming already emotionally charged because of the multiple associations. And that is what I'm going to tell you now. And yes, some people need to go, but recording will be available. So the basis that we don't usually move towards other subjects before we first accept the ABCDs of emotions, that we create our own emotional feelings with sincere thoughts, meaning the thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes that we actually believe that they are right at that moment. Here we would like to go to the, so since our thoughts create how we feel, I wanted to show you this, how we develop our attitudes. Because if this ABCD sequence, if we have a slide for that, if this ABCD sequence happens very often, right? If it happens multiple times, we develop a habit, that we may feel before we even have any conscious thought, right? And that is what happens in the situation of burglar. We were given this story of a burglar so many times, even though we never had a personal experience with it, that we may have automatic fear if we only think burglar, and that is going to be creating. So outside of that, we may not have any conscious thought, but it doesn't mean that I don't have any. So we call it an attitude. The emotional habit, we call it an attitude that comes automatically. It is non-verbal, but it always is based on some verbal beliefs. So in the left hemisphere, we have verbal beliefs, and in the right hemisphere, we have already these holistic attitudes that are holding like a habit. So it is true left, right hemisphere. It is true for like 70% of the population. so these are so. Thank you very much for the slide. So that is very important. Sometimes we may experience an automatic reaction, automatic feeling without really having any conscious thoughts. It is like driving, right? When you are learning to drive, you had to go through each step, right? And it was really hard, but now many people can drive without having any. You can drive, particularly in the route from work or common piece of that you may not have even any conscious thought for a period of time. Oh wow, I'm already here, right? And you were driving safely. You were stopping on stop signs. You were stopping on red lights, and you were letting people through. But because you have developed a driving attitude. And what is also interesting about driving attitude, that my driving attitude is the best driving attitude. So I think that my driving habits are really right habits. So anybody who is driving slower is an idiot, and whoever is driving faster is a maniac. So that is another aspect of it, right? Because our habits make sense to us. So, and our way is the only right way. So however I am acting towards this COVID is, I think it is the right thing. So also when we are approaching other people, it's very important that what they feel and how they act and what they think feels right to them, right? And because they practiced that multiple times and it became really deeply ingrained in them. So
Marius, let me add to that. This is where it's important to validate when you have those friends or loved ones talking to you about, oh my God, we can't go outside, we can't do that, we can't do this. Simply to say, no, change your thinking, you're way off base, this is how it is, doesn't work. You need to validate their experience. You need to validate their emotions before you can really start to help them take a look at things and shift in a healthier direction.
Oh, there is a kitty cat, yeah. So so that is very important that we share our we share honestly what we sincerely believe. But if we start criticizing, oh no, that is not right, we are eliminating honest discussion. All right. So that is, we want to connect on a very intimate level, on an honest level. So okay, so so you see, we are explaining these ABCDs of, there's many ways of explaining these ABCDs, but ultimately, no, if we are frightened, nobody scared us. Nobody drilled a hole in our skulls and put a finger and tickled our central nucleus of the amygdala, creating fear. No, we did all of that ourselves with what we thought in our prefrontal cortex. And we can change our mind in prefrontal cortex. So I would ask this slide for about healthy brains. What do they guarantee and what they not guarantee?
Yes.
So healthy brains do not guarantee healthy thoughts. And that is the reason that most of the people that we work with have biologically healthy brains, but they are facing such difficult life situations that it's very hard, that they require additional skills beyond average. And I think that now the whole world is needing those skills, and that is the reason we are giving this away for free, because we want the whole world to know that the basis of our suffering is not coming from the events, but how we think about them. But first, we need to validate our feelings. And then we can move to the next step, is to look at the health value of. So validate our feelings, look what I'm thinking right now, learning about yourself, and then assessing whether this thinking is healthy. Can you move? Next. Oh, if you can't go, you can go to our, you'll get those slides in your, actually the longer slides you'll get at the end of this thing. So how I can tell if something is healthy for me? First of all, this particular thought, I mean, it is very important that we evaluate each thought separately, that I'm assessing. Is this thought based on facts? Right? Does this thought help me to achieve my short and long-term goals? Does this thought help me to feel, does this help me to avoid or handle most unwanted conflicts? Actually, avoiding is a way of handling, but also if I'm in the conflict, sometimes avoiding conflict is not the best thing to do, but is this thought helping me to handle most unwanted conflict with others? And does this thought help me feel the way I want to feel without abusing any drugs or alcohol? Chocolate is okay in healthy amounts. So, of course, we don't expect, so, you know, why the 5 rules? First, obvious facts is real, because people who with mostly disturbed people psychiatrically, they cannot tell the difference between reality or not. They have hallucinations and delusions. When we talk about rule number 2, protects my life and health, of course, the most common psychiatric emergencies is suicidal ideation. Um, and uh, and then achieving our short and long-term goals, that is the key to satisfying life. And handling unwanted conflict with others, we are social beings. We are emphasizing social integration, physical distancing and physical separation, but social integration. So how I can handle those conflicts with others is very important in a healthy way, and helps us feel the way we want to feel without abusing any substances. Yeah, we want to feel good feelings, but not so. Healthy thoughts, next slide, please. Healthy thoughts obey at least 3 of the 5 rules. All those rules are equally important. So this is not that one rule is more important or the other. Healthy thinking for one person, so whatever is a healthy thought for me, doesn't have to be healthy for another person. And healthy thought for you today may not be healthy at other times, so it is good to know those 5 rules all the time. And some rules may not apply in certain situations, like, for example, rule number 1 does not apply to spiritual, religious, existential, or deeply philosophical beliefs, because we are not arguing what is the fact there. But deeply spiritual, religious, deeply philosophical, or existential beliefs will obey at least 3 of the remaining 4 rules. Thank you. We can come back to the whole group. So you see, in other cognitive behavior therapies, you may hear about cognitive distortions, and they are very fine and great. And actually, our emotional disturbance usually comes from the distorted thinking. But we find the 5 rules much more applicable and easier to use. Not to dismiss the value of knowing the cognitive distortions, but we believe that that learning those rules is great, not just for health. Could you show our next slide, please? So now, if you ever think of any success that you achieved that depended on your thoughts and your own actions, not like, oh, I became a grandparent. No, that is not your success. Talking about something that you truly succeeded, your thinking had to obey at least 3 of the 5 rules. Or the success of getting on this call, you needed to know the facts when and where, and know the link, and navigate the difficulties with the password. You also, you need to behave in a, I don't know if rule number 2 here applied, but for example, if you were uh, rather waiting for some surgical procedure, you would rather have the surgical procedure than being on the call. 3, avoiding conflicts. You didn't yell at Andrew when you were asking for password. And your action were goal directed, and you've possibly felt, oh, finally I'm on the call, once you've noticed your face here. So so if next slide, if you have. So we changed it also to believed to question marks. And next slide, please. So very important that healthy thinking is the same as rational thinking, and it is positive thinking is not a healthy thinking. So we already mentioned that. So I will ask Michael to focus on words, how they affect us, how the semantics, which usually derives from rule number 1, how those things affect us. So now, Michael, I'll ask you to talk about healthy semantics. You can turn off the slide for a moment. But I'll ask you, Michael, you'll have to listen, all of you, you'll have to listen to this very closely. And you must remember what he tells you, everything that he tells you. Without this information, you cannot be effective in managing your emotions. And you will make yourself and everybody around you feel really bad. And Michael, if you don't present it clearly, you are going to be a total and incompetent failure, terrible failure. So you have to present it exactly as I told you to do it. Turn on your, Michael, that is very great, but you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, yes. Well, so you just killed my motivation for talking about it by talking to me in that way. So I'm wondering, what did anybody hear in what Marius just had to say? Did you hear any language in there that might be less than motivational for the person you're delivering that to? And I know you didn't have the example to look at, but I'll give you some examples. So Michael, you are, to the audience, you have to listen to this closely. You must always remember it. You cannot be effective if you don't do this. You're going to be a complete incompetent failure, a terrible failure. Those are the kind of language Marius talked to me with. And those are what we call unhealthy semantics. I see some of the responses, you know Marius too well, dictator or else, mandating perfection. Yeah, that's a pretty good description. Not really. Marius is a great guy. But it's really important, and it's something that we do very habitually, to be clear on the kind of language that we're using when we speak, either to ourselves or to other people. You know, it's easy to say, come home from work, oh my God, I had the most terrible, it was the worst day of work I ever remember. Well, really, was it the worst day of work you could ever remember? What about that time you got fired because your boss caught you, doing something else on the job? I just feel completely hopeless right now. That's the worst food I ever ate. I'm just a failure. Oh my God, that was awful. Nobody loves me. It's always this way. That's how we tend to talk to each other. And that's how we tend to talk to ourselves. Even right now in the middle of this, this is so awful to be at home. Terrible things are going to happen to our economy. Everybody is scared to death. We just can't make it through this. These are what we call healthy semantics. And the thing about healthy semantics is language creates our realities for us. We tend to, sorry, I'm looking for this last piece. Yeah. We've known for a long time that language really defines us as human beings over different animals, obviously, even though some animals may have language. I don't know if they have unhealthy semantics as well. Going back to Pavlov, the guy who did the famous dog experiments, he said, for people, the word is an entirely real stimulus. It signals and substitutes for every other stimulus and elicits every kind of reaction elicited by other stimuli. So the word is just as powerful. So, with Pavlov, he got dogs to drool, with by putting food in front of them, but then paired that food with a bell. And pretty soon he could ring the bell and the dogs would drool as well. So think about that bell as similar to a word. If we use the same word enough, I'm a failure, well, what's going to start to happen to us? We're going to start to feel like a failure. We're going to approach our lives like a failure. I've known people in my life who, first thing they do in the morning as they're in their recovery, I work a lot with substance users, is look in the mirror and say, I'm an alcoholic. To me, that is very counterproductive, because if you see yourself as an alcoholic, start to view yourself as an alcoholic, how is that setting you up for your day? If that's the first thing you tell yourself every day, how are you going to move through that day? In a healthy way or in an unhealthy way? I know there's some controversy around that idea, but it's important that we recognize that these words become very real. If you feel like, or tell yourself, nobody loves me, well, probably you're not going to have a lot of people around in your life with the opportunity to show you that love. A famous neuropsychologist, Luria, said that behavior that is learned with the use of language is acquired quickly, generalizes widely, and is highly stable. So when we use language to guide our behavior, this goes back to Marius's example of driving. When you first learned to drive, everything was talking yourself through it. Okay, let me sit down, turn on the key, hand on the steering wheel. I better look over my shoulder to make sure there's nothing there. I better adjust this mirror. Oh, let me move my seat up. You were talking yourself through each step. But as Marius said, now you drive to work and you've got, at least in New Mexico, we got a breakfast burrito in one hand, cup of coffee, we're on our phones, listening to stereo. We make it to work and don't even know what we did, but that's because we learn that behavior by pairing it with language. So it's important when we're working with our clients, or when we're working with anybody else and working with ourselves in these situations, to recognize when we use that kind of language and modify it. So instead of sitting there saying, this situation is never going to get better, I'm never going to get to go back to work, I'm never going to get to see my family again. Well, is it likely that you're never going to? If you tell yourself never, you're going to feel worse. Going back to the idea of, you made me angry, she makes me so happy. Well, again, recognizing that no, you are responsible. It's your beliefs that create those emotions for you. Instead of, I'm a failure, I had an undesirable result. Marius taught me a long time ago, when Thomas Edison was being interviewed after inventing the light bulb, one of the interviewers asked him, how many experiments did you have to do? And he said, well, I had to do about 10,000 experiments. And Edison, he said, how could you keep going? After the 9,999th failure, what would make you want to keep going? He said, I never saw any of those experiments of a failure. They were a success in learning how to not make a working light bulb. So just that little twist, that little way of changing the way we talk, creates a different reality for us. So thinking about that, correcting that in people that you are talking to or working with or in your own home. I know, especially in working with adolescents in the past, and even working with my clients in therapy, I try to correct those things every step of the way so that they know that they're using that kind of language. Now, usually I set that up in advance. So just so you know, as we go through, I'm not interrupting you. I'm not being rude. I just want to point out to you how frequently you use that kind of language and what the result is that it has in your life. After a couple sessions of that, what happens is they start catching themselves. Oh, everything went terrible today. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. A couple things went pretty good. Most things went terrible. Well, even making that little shift from everything to most things or some things creates better thinking and eventually better emotional functioning for us. So that was a quick version of the healthy semantics content.
Marius, please unmute yourself. This time you.
Oh, okay. Michael, that was absolutely great. Very succinct and to the point. So we were talking about that we have three emotional choices in life. Could you be so kind and show us the slide with Victor? because really that is a very powerful thing. So by the words that we are choosing, by the thoughts that we have, well, Viktor Frankl, because we mentioned that we flipped, you showed it for a brief moment. So that is a very important thing, that because of the ABCDs and the things that we are talking about, both Michael and I work with people in extreme situations, but one of the psychiatrists from Austria, Viktor Frankl, was in very extreme situation. He was a Jewish psychiatrist who went through the Holocaust and survived it. And he noticed that people who survived the concentration camps, he was also in Auschwitz, and you can read his book, Man's Search for Meaning. And on the page 66, all of those books are reprints. So page 66, there's this quote: "The last of human freedoms, the ability to choose one's attitude in a given set of circumstances." Because he noticed that not the strongest, not the smartest were surviving, but those who had the right attitude. So noticing that we have a freedom to choose our attitude. And we'll be talking about how to choose our attitude next time. Now, can you go to our slide? Yeah, sorry, guys. Oh, go back. Oh, here. So you see, I told you that many of you may see what we are saying, may feel as weird, awkward, unnatural. Yes, the things that are in conflict with our attitudes, with what we do habitually, feels weird, awkward, unnatural. And here we have this Polish woman coming to the UK, and she rented a car, a convertible, nice old-style Jaguar, exotic car. And she was imagining herself driving through the landscapes of England in this convertible. Yeah. But she didn't realize that, come on, the steering wheel is on the wrong side of the car, for her on the wrong side, right? It feels unnatural for her. Shifting gears with my left hand, crazy. And then, driving on the left-hand side, turning left, that is, for those of you in Cambridge, you may have had experiences like that when you came to the continental Europe, right? So does it mean that the British have different brains than the continental Europe? No, we have the same brains. We simply develop different habits. So that is very important to notice, that whatever we do that is in conflict with our habits feels wrong, weird, and unnatural. So if you drive for the first time in England on the left-hand side of the road and you have a habit of right-hand side driving, can you show other slide? No. Following. Oh, here. So if you may feel right sometimes on your first drive, but if you feel right on your first drive, if you're a continental driver in England, it may feel right, but you may be driving deadly wrong. So the same thing that we are talking about this COVID, some of your beliefs may feel right, but may be deadly wrong. So I think that we came to the conclusion of our presentation. So yes, go ahead. And Andrzej, if you could introduce us to the groups. So you all are invited to our groups, because we will have homework, and we would like to create a support system during the homework. And so far, this thing grew for us much faster than we expected. So we have a Facebook group that we will invite you all. I know that not maybe all of you are on Facebook, but that was the easiest thing that we were able to do in a relatively secure way. So remember, we want to increase social integration while maintaining physical isolation. And we are not isolating each other. We are isolating the risk of spreading the virus. So we are isolating ourselves from the virus, not from other people. So if you could show the next slide with the work homework, you see anything that is worthwhile comes with effort. And we know that people can make huge progress, but those who do actually homework. So what you are going to get a handout on healthy semantics, which is an old chapter from the book. It was published in Polish, ABC of Your Emotions, with Michael DeBernardi, myself, and Maxim Oldsby. It will be published hopefully soon too in the United States. But you'll get the chapter from that. And we will ask you to take notes of what you don't agree with. Because of what we want to understand, what feels wrong to you, what feels unnatural for you, which is in conflict with your habits. We will ask you to catch up on previous recordings. You will also get a handout before the next session, because next session is going to be Guinness breaking record of group 1 session psychotherapy, single session therapy. And for those who want to monitor their progress, we will also send a feelinggoodnow.com link to my practice that you will be asked to log in. We'll use a specific code with some numbers, so your participation is going to be totally confidential, even though it is also a tool that is HIPAA compliant. That means it meets all the confidentiality standards of a medical record in the United States. And so please invite others for the future if you find it helpful. So, and do not hesitate to ask questions. So thank you very much for your participation. You can turn. I would like to see the faces once again. Thank you very much for your participation. And thank you for all the questions. Yeah, someone make the comment. When you think first, then the body follows. Yeah, that is a wonderful example.
Let me rephrase that, quoting George Clinton: "Free your mind and your ass will follow."
So we thank you very much for all of you joining us, and we hope to see you next time. And yes, there will be opportunity to ask questions in the meantime. As usually, Michael and I, we hang back after the workshop for about 10 minutes. So we will hang back, and like people usually after a workshop come up to us and ask questions. And I wanted to do a shout out to Deborah. Thank you very much. It's so wonderful to see you. We worked together at in Las Vegas in New Mexico. We have PharmD, Dr. Pharma, pharmaceutical doctor. So thank you very much, dear friend. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you in future webinars, and everyone stay safe.
So you are unmuted as a whole group, so you can say anything you want for those who were sharing their screens. So any questions? Yes, go ahead, Deborah.
Will you contact us via email or by email?
Yes, we will contact you by email, and you will get this information by email, also link to the Facebook group. Thank you, Deborah.
Marius, we have a question about next Sunday is Easter. So what is the plan for a webinar?
So we will be, so it's also 4th day of Passover. Let's not forget about that. So yes, it is a very special day for a lot of us, and we will be doing a special thing too. I think regardless of the religion, we will be using God-given skills to improve the quality of our lives. And I think that in any religion, applying your skills to help yourself and help those around you would receive a blessing. So we'll continue the same time. Particularly that we are going to be doing some miracles. maybe, without attachment to the outcome. Yes,
I have
Linda.
a question. At one point we said we needed to validate other people's feelings.
Mhm.
What if those feelings are ridiculous? I'm having trouble with several of my friends who are not taking isolation seriously. And I'm in a situation with my immune system
Mhm.
that could kill me. Not
Mhm.
them because I'm staying away from them, but they don't understand they could be killing someone else that they don't even know. And I'm having trouble getting through to these people, and there's several of them. So it's getting to the point for me where I want to hide from my friends because it makes me crazy.
Mhm.
How
Yeah, that is.
do you
So
validate them?
no, I mean actually, the only way to get to them is through validation, because, and it is not. It's very important that we are not coming to this in a paternalistic way, and believe me, it is what I learned from David Burns actually. Um, his book really strongly recommended, that is fantastic, is Feeling Good Together, right? His book Feeling Good sold over 5 million copies, but Feeling Good Together really teaches us to communicate with people who don't agree with us, right? And who don't share our values the same way. So this book is and it is very complicated. The first thing is is when we are confronting that, no, you are wrong, we already have the person not listening to us, only coming with an argument how to defend themselves and how to defeat us, right? So we need to look in the element of truth in what they are saying, and if they are acting in a dangerous way, it is really hard. And and I actually also need to deal with people like that. And for me, the best way was to move 100% of my practice into online. So I will not endanger my patients, because some of the people were really difficult to be convinced to use the protective devices and to behave in a healthy way. So, but when I meet such a person, yes, you are right. Uh, without without saying, without really confirming that they are.
I don't know, it just froze.
We lost Marius, it looks like.
Yeah, we lost him.
Positive, that is usually.
There he goes.
We lost you for a couple of minutes there, or a minute.
You lost me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Just for 1 minute.
Oh, I'm here. So, I mean, I was not muted. So, what I was trying to refer to is when people are coming to me and saying and presenting with such behaviors, I usually try to validate that ignoring COVID for them feels right, because it makes them less scared, or it shows that, oh, I'm above it. And then and when you listen, oh, so how is it for you to act that way? And they will reveal to you why they think that way. And once they reveal to you why they feel that way, then you will be able to reflect on that. But usually you need to repeat exactly what they just said. Exactly. So really, and then reflect to them, oh, so you told me that, oh, this COVID is not going to harm you, it is all hoax or something like that. And then, so I can see why thinking that way you are acting, because remember, people's feelings and their actions are always logical consequence of their thoughts and behavior. So you cannot even help them reflect on their way of thinking if you immediately say they are wrong. And yes, I have the same habit. If someone says me some crazy ideas that are totally invalid and dangerous, my first reaction is, no, that is stupid or whatever, right? But it doesn't work. It has never worked. So the only way is that is working and that I'm learning and keep learning and try practicing from David Burns. And you can go into his feelinggood.com, and there are podcasts that I strongly recommend. Feeling Good podcast, strongly recommended. There are like 180 different podcasts so far, and he's putting out every week one new podcast, so strongly recommend. And it addresses podcasts from 54 to 57 are talking about relationships and how to communicate difficult things. So yes, but first asking people questions and validating that, oh yes, they think they're right. And then when we allow them to reflect, and we are not attacking them so they don't have to defend their position, then maybe, without attachment to the outcome, they may reflect and correct their position.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Angela.
Hello. I have a question for Michael. I know you mentioned when you were discussing addicts, waking up in the morning and making that statement, I'm an alcoholic, being a negative semantic. I'm curious how you would recommend or what you think one should do to balance between recognizing and accepting there's something they want to work on, such as I'm an addict and therefore I have addictive behaviors that need to be addressed regularly, versus starting the day with an unhealthy semantic or way of thinking.
Well, you kind of just did it there. But I would also say even the word addict, I have the same issue with as an alcoholic. So even to reframe that of something that, I'm a person who's had problems over my life with substances. So it's important for me to try to stay strong and away from that today. Same kind of idea. It's giving them a strategy for doing it, but they're not putting a label on themselves, and those labels hurt. So yeah, you are not anything. You are a person with issues. You're not an alcoholic. You're a person with alcohol challenges. You're not an addict. You're a person who uses heroin unhealthily. You can reframe it in those ways.
Got it. Thanks.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Marius, you have some people with their hands raised. They're being good citizens.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Deborah, please let in, because I started responding to written.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I just could you just repeat the name of the guy who does the feelinggood.com podcasts?
Okay, feelinggood.com
You said the
podcast. It is by David Burns.
Okay.
And I just sent the title of the Feeling Good Together book, Feeling Good Together book. And I'm going to put the link in the chat. Feeling Good Together podcasts, and there's the list of all podcasts. There is even a search possibility of his podcasts. So I will strongly recommend that you use them. And if you want to use the interpersonal part, use to podcast 54 to 57. I've been assigning them so often that I remember them by heart. But if you go to that page, you will be able to listen to all those podcasts.
Thank you. Thank you.
I see we have a question from Lorena Duran.
Yes, Lorena. Good to see you, Lorena.
Oh, hi. No, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to thank you for putting this all together. It's really very timely and very necessary, and just proves that when there is a situation that we can change a direction and try something different that is going in a positive direction. For me, it is very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. And I know that these things were not new to you because you went to our retreat before. So, but I'm glad to hear that you still see benefit of repeating that information. Yes.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you very much. So thank you. Yeah, and that is the fact that we need to repeat it. And I'm forgetting, my son, when I get sometimes upset, he says, oh, Dad, he was 10 when he started doing this to me. Oh, Dad, it seems like you are creating your own suffering right now. So I learned how to validate people's feelings first. But he didn't.
I see we also have a question from Paisan Joe Mazzarino.
I want to thank you for putting this on today. It was very informative, and as always, something that was up on one of the screens is about the ability to change your attitude, or maintain it. It reminds me of a time walking in the desert and seeing something, beautiful day, and I'm seeing something bright and shiny and just gleaming in the sunlight. And I'm walking towards it. As I get closer and closer, I see that it's a styrofoam cup, the kind of worst kind of trash. And now it's no longer this beautiful thing that I was looking at, but trash, and it just destroys the moment for me. But my attitude for it really can be the same. It was still beautiful, even though it's trash.
Thank you very much. That is a very good point. Actually, there are some Buddhist writings. They didn't talk about styrofoam, but they were talking about seeing the beauty in the beauty of the rose, also seeing the beauty of the compost from which this rose is rising. So the complexity of life. I have not woven the styrofoam into it because I don't see any good about it. But if you look at typical life, seeing the complexity in everything, that in nature, everything, the beauty and the decay and new life, it's the circle of life. It's absolutely amazing. So
we have one more question listed from Elsa Gildner.
Oh, wonderful. Hi. Can we hear you? Elsa?
Oh, unmute your microphone, Elsa.
Or type it up.
Elsa, you need to unmute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to thank y'all for such a lovely 2 hours. It's been very informative. This is the first time I've been on. And it really, really helped me to be able to set certain challenges that are here and actually put a base on them. So I really thank y'all for the great help, and I'll look forward to the next one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wirga.
And hello to your husband too. Thank you.
I will.
Ron,
thank you.
as I remember. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for your humor.
Not everybody likes it.
No.
Just ask my family. Ask my family. Oh,
I like your humor. It wouldn't have been the same without it.
Thank you very much.
That's cute.
All right. Oh, I see. Deborah, I don't remember this cat. So what's the name of this cat? Oh, I can't hear you.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
Hey, Deborah. So what's the name of the cat? I remember your dog. This after this plant. Kamisha. What? Hello. Oh, Deborah disappeared.
Camellia, maybe?
There she is.
Michael, you remember this common plant in New Mexico?
Chamisa?
Chamisa. That was the name of the dog. Chamisa. Chamisa. But we still cannot hear Deborah. So sorry. We'll learn the name of your cat later on, and we introduce your cat as one of the panelists next time. Thank you. So we appreciate that. We will be concluding this. And again, we will be the group, Facebook group, maybe also some other forms of connection will be created by Prosoma. So yeah, so thank you very much, all of you. And I feel really, even though we are physically distant, I feel really close to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for reaching out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm going to end the meeting right now.
Thank you.